Carissa, thank you very much for joining the podcast. In 30 to 60 seconds, could you describe what it is that you do?
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm really excited to chat with you guys. I'm a wedding photographer out here in Alberta, Canada, and I also service Vancouver Island, Vancouver, because that's where I'm from, Victoria. I I document people in love. I get to see people on a really special day of their life, and I get to walk with them, stand with them, and be there and capture it and give them those memories to hold on to. So it's a pretty cool gig. I mean, there's lots more moving parts to it, but in a quick jaunt, that's basically what I do. There's many other hats I wear, as I would assume most would know that run a business or want to run a business, but that's the basics of what I do.
No, that's perfect. Before we get into the story of your business, we usually start with little rapid fire questions to
Okay.
get things cooking. So what is your favorite movie or movie you watch the most?
Oh my gosh. I know I should have come more prepared for this.
I mean, this one's not, you should know this one, this
I
isn't
know. I
best
watched
question.
it's hard because, like, if I'm really honest, I watch a lot of TV and shows because I edit, and so when I'm editing, I'm like watching shows and movies.
Yes.
But like one of my favorite movies is The Wedding Singer. I love that movie. Actually, my first dance with my husband was the I Want to Grow Old with You, that song. That was our first dance song because I'm not like crazy romantic, but that song fit really well. And yeah, and then I like thrillers. I know this is not rapid fire at all, so sorry.
Okay.
I'm good at that.
Yes, that's right. Well, the Wedding Singer is a good one. That's a good answer. Do you have a favorite book or book that's inspired you?
Yeah, I read lots of books. I am bad at reading the business kind of books. I'm trying to get more into that. I'm jumping into this book called The Artist Way. And you have to do like 3 morning pages daily. So that's going to be a journey. But I usually read to get out of my head. So I love like thrillers, dramas, kind of rom-com-y books. I just finished a really good book called, what was it called? I can't remember now. I'll
Yes.
get back to you on that one.
Yeah. So kind of like fiction books. Yeah. No, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a podcast person?
Yeah. I listen to podcasts mostly when I drive.
Okay.
I like to hear people chat.
Okay. What's a podcast or a couple podcasts that you like to listen to?
Mel Robbins, I love her. She's
So
just,
the last guest said as well. There's Mel Robbins, and
yeah,
then I had this theory that no guys listen to Mel Robbins. It's only girls.
maybe. I like Mel Robbins. I like this podcast called The Ed Milet Show. I don't know. He always just kicks me in my butt when I feel like I
The
need it.
jacked guy, right?
Pardon me?
The really jacked guy.
Yes. I just
Yes.
really like him. He's no BS. He's just like, if this is what you want to do, this is how you need to get there to do it. And I just love like the mindset stuff. And then I like listening to Armchair Expert because I like listening to their Friday anonymous episodes. So they have like armchairies come on and they do prompts like, tell us about the time that you pooped yourself in public. And
Yeah.
like, I know it's really funny though. And then it's like, tell us, they're all like prompts about stories for things. And I like that. Yeah. And then I listen to some photography related podcasts. There's lots of artists out there that I admire that will go on podcasts. Like there's this Brad and Jen education one. And I listen to that one a lot because they have guests for photographers that I admire. So I listen to that. And then sometimes I just listen to like pop culture because it's nice to gab with the gals in the car.
When you need to lock in and get work done, you kind of talked about that. You put in a TV show in the background you're editing, but is there any other process you do when you're like, I gotta grind here for the next few hours?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but I have ADHD. So for me to lock in requires a lot of energy.
Yes.
And I really have to stick to like a pretty good routine. So I have a little timer that I just bought. And so I'll put the timer on for an hour and I can't really go much longer than an hour. I'll have to get up and move around. So I put a timer on and I was watching shows, but to be honest, now I've started listening to music, kind of like lo-fi music that I don't know, just helps me to like clear my head. And I feel like that helps me a lot more versus shows. Like shows is nice when I'm, just needing to kind of get out of my brain and just have a show on in the background. It's always a comfort show. It's never like something I need to focus on. It's either like The Office or The Mindy Project or Friends. Like it's nothing new. It's always old because I know what to expect. And so, yeah, but usually lately I've been listening to music and I've really been enjoying that. Sometimes I've been listening to more current music like Bad Bunny, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, and just vibing out to that. But yeah, I've been really enjoying just listening to what is it called? Like low,
I
don't
know what
know,
you're talking about. Like
low
Like
frequency music,
lo-fi?
lo-fi, like low frequency music.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really helpful. Yeah. And it just helps. And then, like I said, having the timer, I have a little notepad on my desk. So if anything comes into my brain while I need to work, instead of jumping out of that task, I write it down really quickly. So then I can keep track of it and come back to it later. Because with me and my brain, if I'm jumping around, I just never get anything done. So I really have to kind of lock in. And so if something comes to my brain, I write it on a notepad next to me. And then I tell myself, you can come back to that after. And then I finish what I need to do. And then I go back to that task later.
Last question. If you were to receive a $20,000 grant for your business, what would you do with it?
Oh my gosh. Oh, so many things. Well, right now I'm actually in the process of kind of looking at starting my business from the ground up. I feel like when I first started it, I kind of just, I don't know, leapt into it, which we can get into. But now I'm kind of at this point where I really want to refine it a lot more. So I think I would like really look into refining my process, my client experience, go into maybe really invest in some good marketing and branding that really represents me and who I am and where I'm at now in my business, because I feel like every year I change. And so I'd like to do that. I mean, there's other things that I would want to do, but I don't know if a grant would do that trick, but yeah.
No, that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Yes, no, that's kind of fine. So now when we talk about your business, so you're a wedding photographer, do you remember a moment when you were younger or at any point in your life where you're like, I want to work for myself, like being an employee is not for me, I want to start a business?
No. And I am not your typical, like, I always knew I wanted to do this. This is my goal. I think from a very young age, I thought the process was you went to school, you went to post-secondary, you got a job, and that's what you did. And after high school, I didn't go to post-secondary. I actually went and traveled and I was a nanny in Europe. And I did that. And I kind of had some side gigs here and there. And I honestly never thought running my own business was even possible for me. It was just nothing anybody kind of told me it was possible. I didn't really have role models in my life also that did that. Like everybody I knew around me had some sort of like corporate job, or they went to school to get training. Like my sister's an RN, like I just never had that. So I think like for me, it was one of those things that just kind of happened. And it was good because, like I said earlier, having ADHD, like a job that you run yourself and you are in control of like your hours and your time, like nobody's coming to save you. Like you have to do it yourself. But it also means that it allows me a lot more freedom, which for me is really helpful. So yeah, I wouldn't say that there was ever a moment that I was like, I'm going to be self-employed, I'm going to run my own business. But it's something that when I look back now, I'm like, well, of course you were going to do that, because look at who you are and look at the type of personality you are. Like I worked in the corporate world for like 6.5 years doing like executive admin, and I worked in safety and I did all this, but none of that stuff like pulled at what I love. I always felt like there was something missing. And so when I moved into starting photography and eventually went full time, it kind of was just like, oh, a no brainer, but didn't mean that it was easy. I mean, it's still a struggle every day, but it's a struggle that I can control and that it's my joy, so I love that part of it.
So you said you worked in safety.
Mm-hmm.
How did you land on becoming a wedding photographer?
Okay. So I grew up in Victoria, like I had mentioned, and photography was always just something that I did for fun. I had a little Canon Sure Shot camera. You could like change the settings to make things like everything would be black and white. And then you can make one thing blue or one thing red. And I loved doing photography just for fun. And when I moved from Victoria, I actually worked up in Fort McMurray because I was just needing a change. And at the time when I went up to Fort Mac, it was like a booming industry. And so
That's
I
like
went up there.
change that most people like. Oh, I need to change. I'm gonna go from Victoria to Fort Mac. That's kind of a.
I
That's a
know, I know. But to
big
be
change.
honest, like I won't lie to you, I won't sugarcoat it. I was working 3 jobs. I was working at Bank of Montreal, Starbucks, and the Gap, like just trying to like, I don't know, survive. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had come back from Europe, come back from au pairing, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Like nothing really felt like I was, I don't know, like I've always had a really strong work ethic. So that always kind of was like, okay, I know I just need to work. But then, yeah, I went up to Fort Mac to kind of pay off some bills, make some good money. La la la. I ended up meeting a girl from Ledcor, the company that I did work for,
Yeah.
and she was a photographer. And when I had transitioned from the Fort McMurray and I moved to Edmonton, because if we need to say the whole journey, that's where I met my now husband. I moved from Victoria at Fort Mac to Edmonton. Very weird. But then I was living in Edmonton with him and I had continued to work at the main office there. And anyway, my friend at the time, and we are still pretty good friends, Christy, she was a wedding photographer, just kind of gotten into it. This would have been like what, 2015? And she found out that I liked photography as well. And she just said, why don't you come second shoot a wedding with me? And I'd only shot one wedding before with a friend. And I don't know. I just didn't think, I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll do it. Like that's been, I think, my number one thing in my business that has led me to a lot of success is just going, okay, yeah, sure. I might not know how to do it yet, but I'll try. I'll do it. And so that's what I did is I just said yes to her. Second shot a wedding with her. Actually, she made me do videography. I had to rent this like huge piece of equipment that I had to like pan around. Like it was like, like a stabilizer with the video machine. It was so heavy. And I shot a wedding. And then that summer, I just second shot more, second shot more, second shot more. And then it just sort of snowballed and eventually obviously came into what it is now. But yeah, it was kind of just this leap of faith, I suppose. And then I just kept hustling at it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when did you make the decision that you were going to start your own photography business?
It was shortly after 2016. So I had Leo in 2016.
Okay.
And I was going to go back to work and I was doing photography at the same time and I was busy with it. So I was doing both, working my corporate job and working photography, shooting on the weekends and the evenings and stuff like that. And then I had Leo and I said to my husband, I don't know if I really feel fulfilled going back to working at that, like doing the corporate stuff. And he was like, okay, well, if you feel like you want to explore this opportunity, like let's go for it, right? And I remember I had saved up all this money from all of my side gigs to buy a new camera, and I bought a camera, and I think it was like would have been 2017. I bought it was a Canon Mark D 5D Mark III, I think it was, and I bought that, and I just put everything into it that I could, and that was I was still shooting weddings when I was like 38 weeks pregnant when I had Leo, just before I had Leo. And then basically after I had him, it was just like hustle. I think I was 4 months postpartum and I was like back into shooting. It's kind of
And
nuts.
yeah, so you got started, and it sounds like you started at a pretty hectic time. But how did you get your first customers once you made the decision? Okay, I'm going to start this business. Obviously, it's not like people are just beating down your door to give you money. So how did you go out and get your first customers and actually get that initial traction?
Well, a lot of it was from the initial second shooting for that other photographer. So she would kind of, and we do it a lot now in the industry. So it's like referrals, right? If we're booked for something, we pass it on to somebody else. So I started doing it before I even really dove into weddings. I did families, lots and lots of families. It was so much family work, and word of mouth is huge. Who you know is huge. Networking is huge. Like that is such an important component. And I think without that, yeah, you can like invest in all this marketing and all that kind of stuff, but like who you are and your word and your personality, like I think shines a lot more. So honestly, it was a lot of just referrals. It was people that would say, oh, my friend Carissa is a photographer. And it kind of just went from there. And then of course, like the more I shot, the more, and like Instagram at the time and social media at the time was not what it is now. Like it wasn't even close. Before it was just like you post a photo and that was it. But now it's like a whole marketing system. But back then it was so much word of mouth, word, people just telling people about me. I started a website. I jumped into kind of learning a little bit about SEO and stuff. But I was kind of just a baby. I was really naive. I just went for it. I really feel like I just went into it and I just took anything that kind of came my way until I figured out what really I wanted to do and then just honed in on that. Because at first when I first started, I thought I wanted to be a lifestyle, like newborn photographer, or not like lifestyle, but pose, like the little pose babies in baskets. And I did a mentorship with a photographer and it was like 3.5 hours long. And I left going, no, I hate that. I'm never doing that. That's not at all.
Why did you hate it?
Because I'm very social and I like to interact with people and I like to be with people and chat with people. And I like the chaos of things that are unknown, and not that like a newborn session isn't known, but it was very like strategic. It was very slow. Like you're waiting for the baby to fall asleep. You're putting the baby there and then you have to like set it up and then you have to do all this Photoshop because it's actually like really, you want to be really safe with this newborn baby. Right. So there's a lot of like layering and masking and flipping and it just wasn't for me. I just was like, nah, I don't like this.
Yeah. No, I mean, like the wedding is kind of like the opposite side of the spectrum in terms of like social and busyness and
yeah. And it's so unexpected. There's so much happening on a wedding day that, yeah, you can anticipate the certain elements of it and what it's going to be at its core. But I mean, every wedding day brings different people, different dynamics, different circumstances, and you have to be just so adaptable. You know, you have to be so adaptable and so personable at the same time of being adaptable and so calm. And, you know, you have to like steer this ship for everybody. Because if things start to go off course and, you know, they look to you like, are we good? And if you're like, oh my God, you know, you just have to smile and be like, oh my gosh, we're great. Don't even worry about it. And then you, in your brain, you're going, okay, what can I do? How can I fix this? Right. And so I love that aspect of it. And like with me and my brain, like it just works. It's a job that it just all cylinders are firing at all points of the day, you know? And so it's pretty cool.
Yes. So after you made the decision to start your business, it sounds like you're doing referrals. Would you say that you got like traction pretty quickly? Like, were you able to sort of like make up the salary that you left like relatively early on? No.
No, but I think that comes with it. Like, I don't know. If I'm honest, I think if I would have had a little bit more business acumen or whatever they say, you know, I feel like if I would have known a little bit more about how to run a business,
yeah,
I probably could have done things more profitably. Absolutely. And now those are the things that I'm kind of looking at now and going, okay, now that I'm making a good, profitable business, you know, what are some things that I can do to obviously sustain it and to like capitalize on it as well, right? So when I first started, I didn't really, I mean, I would make good money. And you think about it, when you first start charging, like, I think my first wedding was like $500. Like, it was nothing. And then, you know, when even charging more for sessions, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so much money. That's so exciting. But then you have to think of like how to put it away for your taxes, savings, and then you have to reinvest into your business, right? Like there's things that you need to put into your business in order to like gain from it. And then you also need to pay yourself from it. So no, like the first couple of years was just me putting things into my business and hoping that putting all of this into the business would eventually serve as, you know, come back to me, right? Like, what's it called? Like, ROA on your business or return in investment. Yeah. Right. Like I would just put things into my business, marketing, website, branding, ads, and just hope that that was going to pay off. And eventually like it did, but, I won't lie. Financial stuff for me has never been my strong suit. I actually hired a girl last year to help me with that, to kind of break things down, because I think that's a really important key piece in it. But I know this sounds cheesy, but I don't really do it for the money. And so that's never on my forefront of my mind. My success is always driven in like client success, how happy people are with the experience, with their images, with their time with me. Like that's such a big value. So I've spent so many years trying to focus on that. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I really need to focus a little bit more on the other side of things too.
So then, as you start to get business and you're like, it sounds like you're reinvesting in the business. And, at some point it started to, I imagine, like become more profitable. Maybe you don't have to reinvest so much money. Was there anything you did that you can look back on and be like, that was like a game changer for me? Or was it always kind of just like the slow and steady, getting referrals, doing good work, and then it just grows from there?
Yeah. I don't know if there was ever any like click moments in that regard. I mean, using the systems you have in place to market was really beneficial. Really learning about SEO and Google and, making those systems work for you, even essentially thinking of your website as a 24/7 marketing, live marketing thing for you, right? So if you really figure out who your ideal client is, start speaking to your ideal client, really hone in on who you are as a person, as a business, and then dive into that on your website in a really honest way. And if you're good with SEO and all those keywords and stuff, then you start blogging and you get link backs and all of those kind of things. Like it starts working for you in a way, which is helpful. And then I think at the time when I started, social media really did start to take off. And so we had this really nice window when social media was really it was different than what it was now. I mean, we can all say it's so different now. And back then it was really just people wanted to know who you were. They wanted to follow your work. They liked your work. The algorithm was all different, And so it was a lot of those tactics that kind of just got me to where I am now. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, referrals. I knew Kelly can speak to that. I mean, like I've shot one wedding where there was 5 bridesmaids and I've shot so far all 4 bridesmaids. So I don't know. I think, yes, there's probably lots that I could do in the sense of the business and how to, market for myself and all that. But for photography specifically, I don't know. It has really just been about showing up, sharing your art, being yourself, being authentic, and working really hard. And it kind of just does. And networking, networking has been so important. I think people sleep on that one too much, for sure. I think who or getting an opportunity to put yourself in the room with people you want to be in a room with is really important. Like last night, hosting that event that we did, it gave an opportunity for people to come in and meet other people and share who they were. And I think that it's just really important to do those kind of things and put yourself into the rooms you want to be in. And then eventually when you're out of the room, people will start saying your name more.
I'm going to pop in here. I'm quite, I have so many questions for you. But yeah, I think your point of kind of like the referrals, because even going through the process, like when you're looking at like wedding vendors, like Google, and it's a lot kind of thing. Like there's it can be overwhelming. So I think, like those referrals are so important. And I guess from your standpoint, like, are you very kind of thoughtful on how you differentiate yourself from like other photographers? Or is it kind of, again, like, is that innate authenticity where, like you said, you guys, like you show up, you care so much about like success for you is almost success for the clients. So is it kind of like more of a natural thing that just comes to you? Or are you like really thinking through, okay, how do I position myself? How do I differentiate myself of why if somebody's looking for a wedding photographer, why they go with me versus somebody else kind of thing?
Yeah. I think when I first started, it was probably just the referrals. And now that I'm hit into a different market, I do more destination work. I'm in a different tier level. The competition too out there, like there's a lot of us. And so you really do have to stand out. And I mean, at the same end, like you were saying, people can go and look at websites and I think it all blends together. We all blend together. So you really do have to learn and be true to who you are, and stand out authentically in whatever aspect that is, whether you're a massage therapist or whether you're, a psychologist. I don't know. You're always sort of trying to attract and speak to these clients, but you really have to know who you are and what you want as well. Because you can't be everything for everybody. And so I think just for me, it's been in the last year, it's been, like really reevaluating, like what kind of market do I want to serve? Where do I want to go now that I'm in a higher price bracket? What does that look like? What are those kind of trying to learn? What do those clients appreciate? What do they want? Right? How do they want to experience this thing? Like if you think of higher end clients who value more luxurious things, or they value investing their money into more higher end products, like why do they make the choices to buy these things? Why do they make the choices to invest their money into this? And then kind of, aligning it with you and your business to serve those people. Like essentially, like my goal will be and I just want somebody to come to me, and before they even have to ask the questions, I have the answers. Like I'm going to serve them, I'm going to take care of them, and I think you really have to learn like the psychology of who you're trying to work with, and what that looks like, because if you just start speaking to everybody, like you're just going to get lost in the water, and the right people are going to like go right past you. I mean, nowadays we have what I think before it was like 15 seconds to hook somebody. Now it's more like 5.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like, maybe you can speak to this more too, because like I think again, personally, being somebody that was drawn to you is one, you did a friend of mine's wedding, and then obviously the wedding planner then highly recommended you, so it did help narrow it down. But then I think also then what like personally drew me to you was that like you were about capturing moments, not poses. Kind of thing. So like, was that an approach that you've always had, or was that something that's evolved?
It's definitely evolved. I think when I first started photography, it was very much like it felt very much like weddings were photography. Like that was what it was about. Like it was almost the couple getting married and photography were at the same level. Whereas I think now it's different. Like the couple getting married, celebrating with their family, having a good time, all of that. And then it's like photography is down here. Do you know what I mean? Like it's obviously important, but I think when I first started, it was very much like the photographers run the schedule, and it was, and it was just, it was just different back then. It was very much like, these are all the post photos you wanted. This is what you wanted. This is how you needed to do it. And then I think what really changed the game was COVID, because during the pandemic, people really had to pivot, and they had to make choices, and they still wanted to get married, or they wanted to get married in a different way, and they had to cut this and cut that. And I think it really opened up people's eyes to like, well, what really, really matters to me. And I think within that breath, I kind of birthed the idea that, I don't really like having to run the show. Like, I don't really enjoy that. It's a lot of stress. I don't want to be the one to like tie a rope to you and like drag you around all day. Like I want to be the one to let you live in your day, and I want to document that. And yes, a level of posing or moments need to happen throughout that, it that is a key piece to it for sure. But I think for me, it was really learning that like, I don't actually want to do that. And once I pivoted my wording and my marketing and what I said on my website, what I said on my social media, the images that I was sharing, that all spoke for me. And then the right people kind of came to me going, I actually don't want that either. And so I would say like 90% of couples that come to me now share the same values, that they value good photography. They're willing to invest in it, but they also want to enjoy their wedding day, and they want to have a good time, and they want to celebrate with their loved ones. And so I think for me, like that was where I've been marketing more to, but it's not, I don't even feel like it's marketing, because it's just who I am, Yeah.
And one thing you mentioned is that you talked about like blogging and how like you get the backlinks and things like that. Was that something you're doing the blogging yourself, or you're talking to other people who are blogging? I'm just kind of curious how you go about that to, I guess, increase your visibility online.
Well, I have invested a lot in my business, in mentorships and workshops. I think that was because I never went to, like, they do have like photography school. I know several people that in Edmonton here went to Nate for it, and they kind of teach you all those things, right? I never knew that. And I never went to school to learn about business. So those are things that I kind of just learned on my own accord. And then what I did do and what I continue to do is I invest in my education. I think like always learning is so important and taking the time to do that. Because if you're just, I don't know, like you have to think like, well, what am I willing to do consistently in my business, even when like I don't really know what the outcome's going to be. And I think one of the number one things is just learning and educating yourself so you can kind of always evolve. And so I learned about just the way to blog and SEO and marketing just through educational resources, taking master classes, doing one-on-one mentorships with photographers. And now I can do it on my own because I have the skills to do it. But I feel like if nobody tells you about it and you're not really aware of what it is, like, I mean, just Google it on its own and SEO on its own. Like I get clients, just the way that I've used keywords and the way that I have tagged things on my website, you know, I don't think I'm ranking the highest. I think I need to put a little bit more effort into getting my SEO done even better, but people will come to me just because they're like, oh, Vancouver Island, Victoria, you know, because I'm being shown to them. I had a client actually recently tell me she found me on ChatGPT, which is crazy.
Yes. And how did you learn? Like it sounds like you were self-taught with a lot of this SEO stuff. Like, were you watching YouTube videos? Like, what was your process?
I'm not great with that. No, I'm a more hands-on learner. So it was more just working with other people, learning, and like I'm not afraid to ask for help. I think that's also something that I like to do. So it was just working, finding other people, and we're all kind of fumbling around in the dark together, right? And then there's certain people that they market that. Like I have this one photographer that's solely what she does is she like markets SEO for photographers. And so I bought her course and just watched her course, watched her videos, and was like, okay, that's how you do it, you know? And yeah, so I think, yes, it's been self-taught, but through like the resources out there. But I'm not really a YouTube girl. I probably should use it more because I know so much is on YouTube and it's free, but I'm more of a, like, if I trust somebody, and if I know who they are and then we can talk about it, it just helps me to digest the information so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. And how big of a role does Instagram play in your business?
It's pretty big. It definitely in the beginning too, like when everything was different, I think like I grew, like I didn't, like it was like a slower burn. Like I know some photographers that went from like 1,000 followers to like 20,000 in like a week. But you kind of you have to put in a lot, right? And I was a young mom at the time, and that wasn't something that I really did a lot of. But now, you know, I put in definitely more effort with it and stuff. But it is like people will tell me all the time, oh, I found you on Instagram, found you on social media, or like my friend tagged you in something. Again, going back to networking and meeting people, like, oh, you were tagged in this event and then I found your page, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it does seem like it is so competitive on Instagram to like get anyone to pay attention to what you're posting, but it is kind of like a prerequisite, especially for something where it's like services that involve photography, things like that. So no, that's a good point. When you look at like the process or the journey, I guess I would say, from since you started your business, is there a moment that you can look back on and be like, that was a really tough moment and I almost quit doing what I was doing and went back to a job? Like, is there any point that sticks out where you're like, that was really tough?
Daily. Yeah, I mean, man, like let's be honest, it's hard. Like being an entrepreneur is hard. Like and it comes with some incredible highs and some incredible lows, right? Like burnout hits me all the time, you know. I'm always just because I give and give and you spend so much, and like in order to be successful, and if you're doing it by yourself, like I don't have a team, I don't have somebody marketing doing my social media, I don't have somebody doing my books and my, you know, money management, like I'm wearing all of the hats, and so it can get exhausting, right? And I think it was 2024, Yeah, I think I was pretty much done. I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I was really, really burnt out, and I had to put a lot of boundaries in place for me to want to continue moving into 2025. And even with, like, I'll be honest, even 2027 right now, I have a wait list going, and I'm excited to book 2027 clients, but I really just, I think for so long, I've put so much of my energy and time into this business, and I didn't really have the help. And now I've invested more into, I hired this company that it's called Together We Co. They're based out of Vancouver, and they went from being like virtual assistants, but now they kind of move more into like business operations. And so I task them with a lot of things, and it helps me because then I get to do the things that I love to do, which is shooting weddings, meeting people, all that kind of stuff. And they kind of help me out. And they have been doing some blogs for me, which has been really helpful because it is a lot, right? Like, I think there are lots of times where you're like going, man, I can't do this anymore. And I think we either choose not to ask for help, and we just keep digging into the hole, and it just gets smaller and smaller. And then we give up because we're like, I can't bear this weight anymore. Like, this is so much and so much responsibility on me. Right. But when I finally like cracked the door, was like, oh, okay, I think I need help. Like, I have a really good business and I have a lot of stuff to offer, but I just need some help. And so investing in, outsourcing was like really pivotal for me and really key for me. And then right now in 2026, like, I'm booked for the year. I took way less than I did last year. Last year I took 24 weddings. This year I took 14. And I'm just being a little bit more choosy in what I want to take on and what I don't. And I'm reevaluating, like I said, like the client experience, and like, if I'm going to be charging at a different price point, like what does that look like and what's the value for these clients? Because that's always at my forefront. So yeah, for 2027, like, I haven't opened the door yet to booking because I'm still trying to refine that. And I think that that's so beautiful when I look back at Carissa from 2026. Like, I was saying yes to everything, taking everything. And now I'm at a place where, like, sure, there's things that I definitely need to work on financially, but I'm at a place where I can pick and choose, which is really nice. And I think a big role in that was just like setting some really clear boundaries on what I was willing to keep doing and what I wasn't, and then outsourcing and getting the help to help me to continue to grow my business, right? Because I can't do everything. And I think there's no shame in getting help and reaching out to do that.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting anything, whether it's a business or even, you talked about yesterday, you organized an event. Um, what would you say to someone who's thinking about doing that, but maybe has some trepidations and is on the fence?
Well, I love that we can reinvent ourselves at any time, which I think is pretty cool when you're, wanting to jump into doing your own business. And I just think that there's really no perfect action plan. Like, I don't think there's one size fits all for everyone. Like, everybody's circumstances are different. But so one piece of advice I'd say, like, you don't actually need the perfect plan. I think I did a mentorship with this girl the other day, and she said to me, because I do one-on-one mentorships with photographers, and she said to me, I want a 6-month high-level action plan for how to get me from here to there. And I thought about it because, of course, I could tell her all of these things that kind of I did, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of it just comes down to like your grit and your determination and your willingness to kind of do the hard things and know that, like, you might not get this perfect outcome immediately. But that's okay. Like, I think all of us look point A to point like F, and we forget about B, C, D, E, we're kind of just missing all of those steps or wanting to jump to point F. And I think, like, you just have to know when you're starting your own business or starting any journey, like, you kind of do just need to go, like, I might not be ready yet, but I'm going to give it a try. Right. Like, if I would have, when I first started, like, I wasn't ready. I had just become a new mom. I was shooting kind of part-time on the side. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give this a go. Right. I'm going to try this. I didn't really have a plan. I just knew that I loved it. And I think when you're passionate about something, like, I am a big believer that when you're doing what you love and you're good at it, like, that is such a key component. So I think, like, taking away any of the things off your plate that you might not enjoy as much is also really helpful, and like learning to delegate and, find resources in order to help you with that. But yeah, I think you just have to go for it, because if you never know, if you never try, you're never going to know. Right. And I think that's something for me, is like, I just have never wanted to live my life looking back and going like, oh, well, what if, and I'm not perfect. I mean, I let fear, I let comparison, I let, that little voice in my head going like, well, you're not good enough. You don't know that. Like, you're not going to be successful there. But you really have to kind of like tame the beast and just like say, thank you very much. I appreciate it, but I am going to keep going, and I am going to keep trying. And so I think that's just the biggest thing, is there's not a perfect plan, but that you need to release that idea that like things need to be perfect, and just know that you're enough. And if you have the drive and the determination, and you love what you're doing, like, get out there, give it a go. Like, so much can change in a year, and so much can change in a couple months, but you don't really need to have a plan. You just need to kind of be willing to every day work at it. And yeah, just try.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer. I feel like I'm ready to go, like, chase my dreams. I don't know. That was good. That was really good.
Yeah.
We want to give people a chance to find you online. So what is the easiest way to do that?
Well, Instagram.
Thanks.
Yeah. My Instagram is just at Carissa Marie Photography. And then there's an underscore. Because there's actually another Carissa Marie Photography. And I'm actually looking at rebranding into my Carissa Spencer Photography. I don't think I'm going to have photography, but anyway, I'm looking at rebranding. And just like I said, we're always changing, right? We can reinvent ourselves at any time. So
That's what you said.
yeah. But yeah, just Carissa Marie Photography _ or like you can find me at my website, which is just like carissamarie.ca. And then, yeah, I'm pretty active on social media, always willing to chat with people in my DMs and help people and talk to people. Like I said, I do a lot of like one-on-one mentoring with other photographers. And that's one thing that I'm trying to focus a little bit more on in my business this year, is like mentorships and the opportunities to help other people grow. Cause I know for me, that was a really big thing in my business, was investing in myself. So yeah.
No, that's great. That's awesome. We will link everything in the show notes, but we really appreciate you coming on, Carissa. It was, you've got a really inspiring story, and it was great to hear how it all started and what's worked for you. And it's definitely exciting to see what's going to happen next, but definitely really appreciate the time.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.